Dobra, to ty tam streamuj, ja się rozłączam, też włączam streama i się łączę z tym Erikiem całym. Także narciarz.
just hanging out and just be like,
They refused, they said this week's shit.
Are we doing score calling?
It's a Sunday. It's 7 PM UK, and as you might heard, we've been trying to get in to more drivers in the session, but they joined. So, as simple as that, we are about to have yet another Ero Pc F1, this time in Singapore. And this might be a usual race weekend, but in real life, it isn't. Because if my calculations are correct, Drake Dempsey may win a championship today, but only if he wins the race. This is literally what he needs to do. Otherwise, the title race, because Tony Richard actually is losing over 100 points to Drake now, is going to Hungary. To be exact, 141. So if Drake wins and Arjan Bilbas does not get higher than 6th, just to make sure, does not get higher than 7th, sorry, Drake wins the championship. So these two circumstances need to happen in order for the American to win in Ero Pc F1 entirely for the first time in his career. Can't believe that this is the first time in his career, because he's got chances in season 6 and 7. But it's actually happening. And here we are in Singapore to race at Marina Bay Street Circuit. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski, I'm Ero F1, Pc F1 commentator, and also the entire league's owner. Simple as that. We're jumping straight into Marina Bay Street Circuit, and as you can see, we've got full grid today, although there was a chance for like 14 drivers starting, but some of the PCF2 reserves have joined, and in short, from the reserve drivers, it is Leafroyd and Mercedes, and from PCF2 drivers, we've got Marko Dordevich starting in the Red Bull, replacing Google Nilsson. We've got Furkan Imchas replacing Jonathan Foss in the Ferrari. We've got Daniel Bakalik from PCF3, who's racing in AlphaTauri today, and Harry Wales from PCF2, at least yesterday could be if he raced. We've got him racing in AlphaTauri as well. Next up, Dino Pushkadia is in McLaren, as Eric Dziemianczuk is temporary McLaren full-time driver. Dino is from PCF2, 2 times champion of that tier, not likely to get the 3rd one, unfortunately for him. And as far as I'm aware, that's it. And there's his full-time drivers. So, we've got first drivers coming out on track. As you can see, the first one is a Ferrari of Furkan Imchas on soft tires, as I believe these are the conditions perfect for drivers like for the soft tires to still be in use, but enters not being so good, as Furkan is currently approaching sector 3 and the circuit which could have got most corners if it wasn't for Jeddah joining Formula 1 in 2021. But apart from Jeddah, this is the track with the most corners in Formula 1. It's 23 to be exact, but some of the corners will be non-existent anymore, starting, I believe, this year or next year. As for example, here where we are, this is the only chicane that we will have in Sector 3. The 2 chicanes where, for example, the AlphaTauri is in now are going to disappear and be replaced with a straight. As Furkan Imchas is the first driver to start on the lap. Unfortunately, he's mainly using ABS, which is an assist, but we've got this assist disabled in this tier, and as you can see, already did not go quite well with an invalidation, very early one. As the next driver to start the lap is Kul Pawlakovic, who's gone on into tires, so we'll see what kind of tires the drivers have decided to go into, as you might be wondering why is Luke Mills on hards. Well, he's got a qualifying ban after receiving 16 penalty points in total this season, 13 of them being awarded for the Spanish Grand Prix saga, where he lost the podium and decided to crash out on purpose on the final laps, which got him in total 13 penalty points. He was on course for the podium, but thankfully Red Bulls are in a good path of results now, as we might see them. Luke Miller is currently 8th in the championship with 50 points and 2 podium spots, although Azerbaijan Grand Prix ended up with a unfortunate late spin at British Grand Prix. I don't remember exactly what happened there, but in Belgian Grand Prix, Luke Miller is got back into decent results with position number 6 in that race last week. We are of course looking for Drake Dempsey and Arjan Bilbas, because Arjan is theoretically the only driver who still can steal Drake's championship, considering of course if Tony Richard races until the end of the season. As Mills, as said, is out of the session, but that is due to his qualifying ban, and he will start last in today's race. Unless Quentin Wells and Jack will not make any laps. Then we'll see Luke Mills actually not starting last. I've also heard that Marko Djordjevic was going to start last alongside his teammate, but he's gone on a lap and already damaged his front wing, letting past Arjan Bilbas with something called pad traction. He may feel confident in these changeable conditions, but it doesn't look like so, with him nearly going into the wall on the exit of turn 6, that is, as Spurs drivers are setting laps. Pavlakovic 2nd, Pushkadia 3rd, Wales 4th, as Lutitsky goes 4th as well. Inter Tires having an advantage there clearly, with Drake Dempsey going 6.3. So I believe these are the conditions for Inter Tires, but some of the drivers have probably seen like the estimated advantage of softs being around half a second and decided to go for it, which doesn't go exactly to the plan, as Arjan Bilbas goes with the purple. Sector 2, I don't think this is a pole lap time though, considering his slide on the start of the Sector 2. Arjan is also the first driver to cross the line now, as one of the Aston Martins has just started. That is Fraser Robertson, as Thomas Grard is into the pit still. Same as Lucas Lefroy, Ferry Wagner, Justin Chevalier and Furkan Imtiaz. Arjan's about to cross the line now, and it's probably going to be 2nd place. Yes, that is 47.008. A decent Sector 3. 7/10 off Drake though, so I'm wondering if he's going to go for one lap on these Inter Tires, or will he go to the pit lane. As Marko Djordjevic, currently 10th, but going to the pits, looking for more drivers to complete their laps, and one of them is Jack Harrington to go 3rd with 47.4, so these soft tires might actually not be that bad. So how about Daniel Bakalik about this line? I don't think there's any rain anymore, maybe very little one, and that proves with Bakalik being 4th ahead of Quil Pavlakovic. Then we've got Ferry Wagner is on the outlap, Drake goes to the pit lane, probably for soft tires. I think these are the conditions for slicks clearly now, and not for inters anymore. You can see there is not even a single droplet of rain on the track. So I believe these are the conditions for slicks now, as Fraser Robertson has got no ERS, but he's still going for a lap, so I wonder what's happening here. McLaren driver of Jimmy Eintracht, I believe, is going to the pit lane. The second Haas of Marvin Moore is also going to the pit lane. The ERS is enabled. That means clearly that we're on slick conditions, where basically slicks are better, so I advise Ferry Wagner to go to the pits now. Same applies for Arjan Bilbas in order to get better laps, as Furkan is on his way to start lap. Ferry, as said, is going to the pit. I believe Jack Harrington with purple Sector 2 though, so I think he's still going for yet another lap. Maybe at least for a provisional pole position, which might be possible now, considering that the track has gone absolutely dry at this very moment. With 10 minutes to go in qualifying, I believe he can do it, at least for a second. I don't think he's going for full pole position, but provisional one, why not? As Jack is about to cross the line now, and it's going to be within 41s. And if this qualifying session ended like this would be one of the biggest surprises of all time, to be completely honest, with Jack having 5 seconds of advantage. I don't think Harwells would fit within the 107% rule though. If I was brutally honest. 101 seconds versus 110 seconds. Yeah, this is not within 107%. So yeah, Harwells or Maciej Lutiński, or even both McLaren drivers, maybe even with Quill and Daniel, would be labeled as having too slow lap times when it comes to qualifying results at the end of the day. As for Kanimchas, locking up quite a little bit, but he's gaining experience. That is a good news for him. You can see him currently approaching sector 2, 1 minute 5 seconds, 0.9 is his sector 2 time. As the yellow flags are caused by one of the AlphaTauris sitting past the Mercedes of Jack Hamilton. Is he going for it another lap, Jack? I think he's going to the pits now, because he's not pushing at all. But that seemed interesting if he went for one more, as Fraser Robertson is coming out of the pit lane as well. Furkan Imchas all the way to complete his lap. I believe he's going to be second at least for a moment if he doesn't mess this corner up. The final corner has been crossed by him. He's going for pole though. We might see some very good qualifying results today. Don't give us hope though, as there is still like 9 minutes to go in this qualifying. Drake Dempsey starts his lap now, as Ryan has pointed in the chat. Just a reminder, he needs to win the race, and Arjan Bilbas has to finish no higher than 7th. Of course, if Drake gets a fastest lap and pole position, it's going to be a little bit easier for him, as Arjan Bilbas will need to finish 6th in order to keep the championship alive. Actually not. Actually no, because Arjan will just about lose on the amount of race wins as Drake Dempsey. Well, I cannot watch this right now, but he's won like 3rd race. It was Spain, then he's won in Netherlands, then he's won in Canada, US, Belgium, Britain. Baku he did not. So it's like 5 race wins. Maybe still there will be a chance for Arjan. As Drake is approaching the final sector, we can see that there will be no surprising qualifying results, as Drake is already 1.5 seconds faster than Furkan Imchas, and we're in sector 2, we're ahead of sector 3. At least Furkan can say he was on the pole for a moment in PC F1 tier, the highest one in Ero League Racing on PC. With Drake about to cross the final couple of corners, he should be getting at least a provisional pole for now. And it's done. 35.8. These gaps are just another level, and Harwells is crashed out under the bridge. So this might be an issue for the McLaren of Dino Puszkadia, who needs to avoid the AlphaTauri. I mean the same for Marco Djordjevic, also trying to avoid the Red Bull driver. For Eric, the mechanics, aka the game, cleared the car very, very quickly. And Eric Jumanchuk about to, I believe, finishing 2nd now in this qualifying. Yes, he is. It's a front row for McLaren, but remember, there's still 6 minutes to go. There's 8 drivers to still make a lap. Marvin Moore clearing that with 2nd place on the grid right now. Then there is Thomas Grar, but he's approaching the pit lane, so I think his lap wasn't the best one. Maybe even with damage, as Fraser Robertson, his teammate, is in sector 3. A Ferrari of Arjan Bilbas crossing the line to get 3rd place, right behind Marvin Moore. Fraser Robertson with 3rd gear. He's not using short shifting, as you can see. Quentin Hesh goes 2nd. The gap between him and Drake is already 2 tenths, so I believe Justin Chevalier, yes, he's going 3rd. Fraser Robertson approaches the line and gets 7th place, right ahead of Dino Puszkadia. Ferry Wagner currently on the 5th place, and I don't think he's using any ERS. That's the 2nd Alfa Romeo of Drake. Is he going for yet another lap, I'm wondering? No, he's not. You can see him already losing quite a ton of time. Lucas Di Freitas on a hot lap though, with a chance of getting maybe like top 10 position. No, he's got damage front wing, I believe. That places him in 7th, 37.0. You can see the margins between these. And yes, Lucas Liefeld has got wing damage, but decided to still finish a lap. 7th place with damage front wing. I don't know how many corners with it he's gone for with, but it's still a decent one. I want to complete a lap. That is George Parr in Sector 3 currently. But I don't think he's completing that one, considering that he's not using any of the ERS and he's on neutral gear, so probably letting Aryan Bilbas past. And Bilbas also probably going to the pits. I don't think we're going to see any more laps at this point. But with Pawlakovic in front. Pawlakovic being currently in Sector 1, letting the Aston Martin off. Thomas Grard passed. As slight correction to the sound settings. Sorry for that one. I believe the game was a little bit too loud for you all. Now it should be a little bit better. As Bakalik's on the lap as well, I believe. He's 2 seconds faster comparing to his previous lap time in Sector 1. But remember, there was still a little bit of rain when we started this qualifying. Daniel is now 7 seconds faster, placing him in position number 13, ahead of Jack Harrington, who also needs to go to the pit lane. I still believe Daniel Bakalik will go for top 10 result today, because we've still got Sector 3. With no rain, this will be a massive advantage for every driver. As Daniel is about to cross the line now, he's not going to the pit lane. Thomas Grard and Kul Pawlakovic will start laps as Daniel Bakalik goes 11th fastest, 38.3. How about Kul Pawlakovic? He's just starting a lap. Thomas Grard has already started, and he might be landing in some. He will not land in traffic because he's already invalidated, and that could have been his last chance to make any sort of a lap. So he might as well start alongside Luke Mills and George Parr. And the end of the at the start of this race, Kul Pawlakovic now in Sector 1, approaching turn 5, and on the longest straight on this track, the DRS straight, with a noticeable change of directions right here. What's his lap time going to be? 26.9, similar to my ones in qualifying yesterday in PCF2, because yes, indeed, I league raced for the first time this year, and that was here in Singapore yesterday. Got 6th place in qualifying and 6th place in the race as well, despite having a bit of a wing damage near the end of the race on the inter tires, but thankfully the conditions changed to full slicks, so I used that opportunity to go to the softs and finish the race like that on the 6th place, so that was decent. And just for the fun fact, we started in 15th, but we got only 1 safety car in the full race of Singapore, which also lasted over 61 minutes before Mateusz Padełczak crossed the line, as the entire top 9 are on the outlaps, so you might see some deciders. If the race finished like this, with Drake getting pole and victory and Aryan Bilbas being 6th, Aryan still might have a chance to go for the title, but that would need to be a miracle, with him winning all of the races with pole positions and fastest laps, and Drake Dempsey crashing every single time, as Kul Pawlakovic crosses the line and gets 10th place. Best drivers are starting the lap, actually are in the Sector 3. I'm just checking on what's happening with PCF1 situation, but apparently nothing. So I will just make sure the chat is open for me. There you go. Most of you have said that Drake is actually going to claim the championship. But remember, Aryan Bilbas is still a very competitive driver, with a couple of race wins and loads of podiums in Ero Pc F1. Getting into 2nd in Season 7 and 3rd in Season 8. Despite likes of Doubts, Richie, Drake, Sami, and many more drivers. Diogo Moraes as well, joining Ero Pc F1 in Season 8. Since then we've actually got only Drake and Tuka, with a couple of performances of Tony Richie. Kul Pawlakovic opens up the RS, so I think he's going for 1 more lap though, but we'll be following Drake Dempsey, who's already at 10th up in Sector 1. Behind him there is Quentin Hesh, but I don't know his lap time, to be exact, in Sector 1. But we'll follow these 2 drivers. Drake Dempsey is just going to the yet another DS zone, as Pushkadia goes 7th with 36.9, so he's at least crossed that 37 margin, as Drake is 2 tenths up, he's 0.3.2, 0.3.2, let's stay on that. This Quentin Cash is 4 tenths slower. So it was all in sector 3, I believe. Next drivers are Klein, Pavlakovic 11th, Inchas 12th, Bakalik 13th. Next is Drake, who's probably going to confirm his pole position in today's race. He's 2 tenths up on his lap time, and he should be going for like 35.6, maybe 5. He's going for 0.3. And that places him on pole position. Quentin Cash has invalidated his lap. The next one across the line is Marvin Moore, who's chasing that 3rd place, or maybe even the front row. He's not, as he crosses the line to get 4th place. Jimmy Anchuk goes 5th fastest with 36.5. Then we've got one of the Mercedes drivers that I believe is Jack Harrington, crosses the line to get 7th. Lucas Leafroyd from 10th, this time without a front wing damage, goes 2nd with 36.0. Justin Chevalier invalidated his lap. Arian Bilbas overtook Marvin Moore, so I believe Ferry Wagner is yet another one to cross the line. Then there's Fraser Robertson, that will be it for today's qualifying. Also there's Lutinsky, but he goes 16th fastest, just ahead of Daniel Bakalik. Wagner goes 4th, so might be a strong help for Drake Dempsey in today's race in order to get the championship. Fraser Robertson goes 9th, and that is the end of the qualifying session. With very interesting results, because Drake now makes it even harder for Aryan, who now needs to finish 6th in order to have any chance of winning the championship. So, Drake wins the qualifying, 7 tenths ahead of Lucas Leafroyd, so we might need to see his POV overlap. Then we've got Quentin Hesh, who was very, very close from Lucas, then Ferry Wagner, Justin Chevalier, Arian Bilbas, Marvin Moore, Eric Jimenchik on the 8th place. This is a positive surprise. Then we've got Fraser Robertson and Jack Harrington. The rest of the drivers, Pushkaria, Pavlakovic, Imchas, Djordjevic, Pa, Lutinsky, Bakalik, have set proper lap times. Harway set a lap time but then crashed. Thomas Grad, Luke Mills. Well, Thomas Grad joined Luke Mills despite not having a single qualifying ban. But does it really matter? At least he will not have to partake in the carnage if he starts slowly. And is there going to be a carnage? I'm wondering. I hope not. I hope for yet another Belgian Grand Prix where everything was fine. We've literally got like 2 incidents of Luke Mills rear-ending Arian Bilbas and Quentin Hesh rear-ending Hugo Nilsson, which both ended up with 5-second time penalties and 2 penalty points because nothing else was necessary, no position changes. And the qualifying ban for Luke afterwards. We're waiting for the drivers to pick up the strategies, so I might as well see the race director if we are having a chance to do so. Basically, top 7 is on the hards. Eric decides to stay on the mediums. Then we've got 3 soft runners, which might be very interesting and may suggest the rain is coming in today's race. 3 soft runners, 4 medium runners. This is what I see, and we are about to start the Singapore Grand Prix with no Formation Lab because of this beautiful F1 22 game. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Can Lucas Leafroyd stop Drake from winning the championship today? It's lights out and away we go, and Drake already gets a good start. Now he relies on Ferry Wagner to stop Arian Bilbas from achieving anything as Ferry stays 4th. Quentin Heche goes around the outside of Lucas Leafroyd, now tries to make a move on Drake to take the race lead. But Drake will stay on position number 1. We've seen plenty of drivers missing the one braking point. But overall, maybe 1 wing damage, as there's a huge crash of Ferry Wagner already. He will not help his teammate win the Drivers' Championship today. It's a virtual safety car. I don't know how Ferry's done that. He's basically gone straight into the wall. And that was very, very weird. Arian Bilbas currently in 5th, keeping this championship alive. But remember, there is Marvin Moore right behind him with Fraser Robertson. Thomas Grant of all people! What he's done here? He's 11 places up in lap 1 already. What is this? Seriously, Thomas Grant with probably one of the best starts in entire history of ERO, and that is not a single bit of a joke. From 19th to 8th, Lutinsky also with a great start, because you can see him going from 16th to 9th. That is some deep stuff going on. Jack Hamilton losing 9 places. Lucas Leafroyd has disconnected from the session, but I believe he's going to come back quickly if he joins via an invite. If we can do that as well, that would be cool. Which is a very, very quick action. Thankfully, we've got a virtual safety car, so we can do this. Are any of the drivers going to the pit lane? No, we've got green flags, so it won't pay off regardless. Lucas Leafroyd should be back in the session shortly, but he's going to restart his race behind Aryan, behind Marvin, and probably behind Thomas Grart. Now in 6th. Both McLarens, Daniel Pakalik and Freeze Robertson are into the pit lane. And also, this is Harry Wade is also spinning somewhere in the last corner. The top 3 has gone away from basically everyone now by 2.6 seconds. So R11 needs to hope on both Alpine drivers working this together rather than fighting between each other in order to have any chance of winning the championship. His championship is still alive, but it's definitely a better situation than right now. Thomas Grard, of all people, is already on the 5th place. That is one of the best starts to the race we've seen ever. And Maciej Lutiński tries not to be any bit worse with 7th at the moment. Furkan Imchas also very surprising result of 8th at the moment. But he should be watching out for Lutiński. He's touched him on the entry of this hairpin and probably got the damage to the front wing. There is a freeway essentially between both Williams drivers and Luke Mills behind them. And that should be Quilla in front of the pack. Luke Mills should be ahead of George Parr as well. I think Furkan Imchas has wing damage after that contact. No, he's not. Maybe a very minor one, but we cannot see it basically. Still great experience to be in the points of PC F1 here, as he's gone missing the braking point in to the chicane. Now Aryan Bilbas is under pressure from Thomas Grart as well. What is Thomas Grart on right now? He's using all of his ERS, trying to get ahead of Aryan Bilbas. Martin Morris into the pit lane, so I think something's happened there. Maybe just a strategy change, I don't know. But Thomas Grart already fighting Aryan, and with DRS usage, I believe he may be going for position number 4 in this race. This genuinely is one of the best race starts we've ever seen, as Harways retires from the session. Thomas Grart tries to go down the inside of Aryan, but does not do so. Lutiński overtaken by Lucas Leafroyd for position number 6, looking for a switchback. Thomas Grart around the outside. We have to watch two drivers fighting at once, two groups of drivers fighting at once. Thomas Grart goes 4th already. This is genuinely one of the best drives in recent history of VRO. I can recall Gero and Visa in Canada, for example, this season, going from 14th to 1st on track. Of course, after the penalties, he finished like 5th as Luke Mills spun on the hairpin on the famous 10-14. Also, very nice track extension from Thomas Grart, but it doesn't change the fact these have been the best 2.5 laps we've seen in Ero recently. This race start is simply something else from the Belgian driver. And now he's chasing down two Alpine drivers, Eric Jemenchuk coming out of the pit lane, about to get lapped by Drake, who's also set the fastest lap of this Grand Prix, but I think Thomas Grart will not make the fastest lap, but still, 4.7 behind between him and Justin. This is just amazing stuff. Aryan Bilbas is already losing 4 seconds to him, and Lucas Leafroyd is putting the Dutch driver under pressure, with Lutiński and Pawlakovic right behind these two drivers, as Quill goes down the inside of Maciej on using the soft tire advantage, at least for now, on the Haas driver. Lucas Leafroyd very, very close from Aryan Bilbas. Try to make a move down the inside after the DRS straight, but does not make so, as Lucas was another one trying to go for around the outside, as Jack Harrington this time having issues, losing all the places to 12. Lucas Leafroyd now down the inside into famous turn 10. but backed out of it. Unfortunately for us, it would have been a great show. No, he's going for it around the outside into turn 11, and he's done it. That was a fantastic move from the Mercedes driver. Absolutely. That was very, very clean. On basically that was fantastic. That was the ideal move we want to see in Ero Pc F1 all the time. Bravery was there, the calculated risk was there. He's done it basically. As Eric Jimenchuk lets another driver pass, that is a disaster after a very great qualifying session for him and being 8th on the grid. But Lucas Liefroyd just being on another level as with this overtake. And Thomas Grant as well. The yellow flags are caused by Eric Jimenchuk, I think everyone passed. Thomas Grant goes for the fast lap of this Grand Prix, but he's on the medium tires, so understandable. As the Belgian driver approaching the main straight. It's already 3.4 seconds behind Justin Chevalier, but remember, Justin and Quentin and Drake are all on the hard tires. So there's the advantage he's getting. Zaran Bybas now under pressure from Lutinsky, but Lutinsky decides to stay behind the Ferrari driver, unless he's going for it around the outside, maybe down the inside. No, Will Pawlakowicz will have to watch out, because in the meantime he's been overtaken by the Haas driver again. So the soft tires are drying off. Same applies for Luke Mills. However, no perspective of rain is going on. So this midfield battle may be yet another interesting one. Because currently Arjan Bilbas is defending the last of his championship hopes in this season. If he is overtaken by Maciej Lutinsky, then it might as well be over. Of course, it's lap 5, sorry. But of course it's lap 5, but you know, he's having wing damage. This might be the reason behind his a little bit of a poor pace at the moment, which doesn't allow him to absolutely send it. And basically this is probably why Lucas Liefroyd has made that move on the Ferrari driver. Also to note, Will Pawlakowicz and Luke Mills will probably go to the pits within like 2 or 3 more laps. As more and more drivers are trying to join us in Ero, but just a reminder that the link to our Discord server is in the description. Jack Harrington is out of the race, calling out yet another virtual safety car. And as I was on the topic of the drivers, like, where's the desync? Like, continuing. I've been given 3 notifications on Discord, so this might be something with desync. But anyway, we have to know what exactly is going on, because if we restart the Grand Prix, we're going for a 25%. But have you been basically crashed by the other driver, because we on the map have seen you being all alone on the track? As I've seen one of the drive, Bakali got a driver penalty. And Furkanim just probably as well. And he might be having these 5 seconds for speaking into the pit lane. Like, if there is lags, like minor lags between the drivers, this is not desync, but if you've got like half of the grid basically being non-existent, or on complete random places, Arjan is out of the Grand Prix as well, and that might be the championship over for him. But there will be no full or virtual safety car, because we've just restarted, as Arjan is out of the session. And that basically means Drake Dempsey is about to win the Ero Season 9 Championship. Still, we might still consider a restart if necessary, as Lutinsky this time is spun around on the exit of turn 3. which basically leaves both Red Bulls and both Williamses fighting for position number 6. But basically, Jack, if there is any issues, if you can report us who exactly was the sinking. That would be very cool, as Bakalik is into pit lane to sec with drive-through penalty. Both Alpine drivers basically traveling in second and third. Great result for them so far. Thomas Gart is slowly catching up. Jeremianchuk currently being lapped by nearly everyone now. Only Furkan, Marvin and Daniel have not done it just yet. I also believe that... Oh! That is Eric Jeremianchuk out of the Grand Prix as well. Clipping the wall with his rear tire. But no safety car will be called. Yellow flags are in Sector 3 as well, and these mean George Pa being spun round and will probably be overtaken soon by Lutinsky. I still don't know who's exactly been under desync, because I'm basically getting some confusing signals. Definitely we know that Lucas Leafroyd might be reported by Aryan Bilbas, although Lucas has not been a direct cause of Aryan's DNF. George Pa on the soft tires will probably get overtaken by Lutinsky sooner than later. As Lucas has been disconnected. Okay, let's get this straight. Lucas left the session. Then he rejoined like 2 laps later, been overtaken by a couple of drivers. We might as well red flag the race and go for the 25% of it. The 25% distance, which basically means 15 laps. That would leave us with Drake, Quentin, Justin, Thomas, Leafroyd. Basically the rest of the grid, and then Aryan, Jeremianchuk and Harrington would start the race on the places where they are right now. But for me, for example, it's all fine. I know that this thing might not happen between me and the drivers, but it might happen between driver 1 and driver 2. I'm seriously not sure what's going on. As that is Daniel Bakalik being now spun in Sector 3. About to be lapped by Drake though. Seriously, I don't see any issue with Lucas. Should continue, I believe. But the fact that 5 drivers have already retired is already interesting. More and more drivers are asking for the restart though, and as even though the no safety car is not a reason to restart for an incident, because it basically happens. the technical stuff of this race is being discussed as of now. As Lutynski goes for a move on George Parr. Fraser Robertson's also looking for one as well. That is for position number 9. We're now looking for a move on position number 11, as this is where Fraser Robertson is. Fighting with George Parr down the inside, goes into turn 10, makes the move stick for the final points paying position. Yellow flags this time are caused by George Parr as well, but there was no contact between him and Fraser, so it might be just a natural spin, as Thomas Grat is now chasing down Justin Chevalier for position number 3. Justin, though, can rely on Quentin Hesh giving him DRS to not let the Aston Martin past. Fraser Robertson's also chasing down Maciej Lutynski. Although you can see him losing very, very low gears. As you can see, Imchas now is out. And this should be, and is, a full safety car. On lap 11, we're actually getting a first full safety car of today. There's already 14 drivers left only. This also is a chance for Daniel Bakalik to unlap himself, as Marvin is doing a very bad decision of pitting. Bakalik stays out. I believe Drake is going to the pits as well, so there will be no risk of Marvin Moore being clapped already into this Grand Prix, at least for now. As Quentin Hesh and Justin Chevalier have both pitted as well. Lobby is reported to be fine, so there should be no restart of it. And there will be no restart, if anyone is wondering, because we've already seen drivers requesting for it, but we haven't seen any further issues. As Drake, with new medium tires, joins the queue, joins the pack. The only thing that can stop him from winning the championship today is basically not winning this race. Simple as that. Robertson got a 5-second time penalty for colliding with Maciej Lutynski, and Marko Djurdjevic on the way to change his front wing as well, so there will be a couple of position changes going on. We've also been reported with Iron Bubas having both wings damaged, both front and rear wings, right before the DNF. Some really interesting things were going on. Also, let's see the tires of the drivers now, as George Parr is the only one yet to go to the pits. And the rest, apart from Marco and Thomas, are on the medium tires. So I believe the drivers who are now on mediums will try to manage the tires to the end of the race. It's fine though, Furkan. But the medium runners, well, they will be in puncture territory possibly. And the hard runners, they are safe until the end. This might open a chance for the likes of Dodovich and Thomas Gard for a decent bunch of points. As George Parr with Marko Djordjevic are indeed going to the pit lane, I believe. George Parr was definitely in the puncture territory, but decided to wait one more lap to make sure the tires will survive. Marko is on the new mediums as well, so F1 Bar Thomas is on mediums now. Also, I've been reported about some lags on the stream. I believe this is not the greatest live stream and basically the race so far. So if anyone in the chat can confirm if this live stream and lobby is fine in general, as this should have been a singular bit of lag moment. Also looking at the chat, well, Philip Klimek from PC. George Parr, are you trying to overtake Dino? Not thankfully, but basically what I'm seeing, Philip Klimek has said he would get P7 with his qualifying, with his pole lap in PSF3, but just a reminder, Philip, that we're racing with no ABS here, so I wonder what your performance without that assist would be, as Drake, Quentin, Thomas, Justin, top 4. These are the ones I believe are favorites to win this race, so please get the podium. Robertson and Pushkadia are the only ones with time penalties added. Makalik is rejoining the queue, and I believe we could be restarting the race on this lap if Daniel joined on time. He's rejoined, but I don't see any safety car. It is safety car restart already. So this is actually very interesting action so far right now. Drake is warming up his tires before the final chicane. And I think we should be going very, very shortly, as Bergman is already into the pit lane, and both Alpine drivers with Thomas Gard, I believe, will be trying to put some pressure under the Alfa Romeo driver. It's green flags. But it's Thomas Gard putting pressure on Quentin Cash for position number 2. It looks like Quentin has not warmed his tires correctly, and Thomas already put him under pressure. Unfortunately for the Aston Martin driver, he's not able to make a move just yet. And he's now under pressure from Justin Chevalier. Just remember that Thomas is on the hard tires. He will be a little bit slower in the first laps after the safety car restart, but then should be catching up, considering his tires can drive for a little bit longer. Justin Chevalier goes down the inside of Thomas and takes position number 3. At least they are side by side for now. Justin on the outside, having a little bit of a touch, probably wing banging with the Aston Martin. That brings him onto position number 4. Now Lucas Leifroyd is putting Thomas under pressure, so yet another position may be lost by the Aston, but not just yet. Lucas decided to stay behind the Aston Martin driver into turn 10. The one on the oldest mediums is Marvin Moore with 6 laps old. Medium tire compound. As Lucas Leifroyd is still looking for places to overtake Thomas on. He's also Thomas using all of the track, so this might be a track limits warning for him. I'm wondering. Robertson currently in approaching routines, he's trying to make a move possibly somewhere. Consider that he's got a 5-second time penalty though. Drake has already gone 1.5 seconds. That was one of the most. This is one of the most dominant seasons in the entire ERA history. I believe Steven Prapko in PSF5 and Season 7 got like 331 podiums, which was down to his pace in PSF5 and Season 7, but also consistency, because whilst there were drivers like Fisher Wells and Santos, maybe even Ronald Clark, who were near as fast, equally fast, or maybe even a bit faster on some tracks, Steven was consistent. Just to remind you, as we were speaking about the PlayStation lowest year, Steven's only no podium result was here in Singapore back in that season, and it was a DNF. So that was actually amazing season overall from Steven, getting 16 podiums out of 17 races and climbing the season 7 championship in that year very, very early, as Lucas Leifroyd probably not catching up to Thomas Grada anymore, I believe. And under pressure from Lukas Quill, Pawła Godzin and Maciej Lutyński. Maciej Lutyński, after scoring his first points in the RPC F1 last week at Belgium, looks for a little bit more. This is currently 8th. He would basically triple his point amount he's got so far, because he's got 2 of them in the Belgian Grand Prix, and it would be 6 if he stayed 8th. But remember, he's got Fraser Robertson right behind him, although Fraser Robertson has got that time penalty of 5 seconds for collision, severe collision, with Maciej. But it could be removed anytime he's gone to the pits again. The yellow flags in Sector 3 are caused by Daniel Bakali, who's unfortunately out of the session in the famous Jesper corner. And that calls out yet another full safety car as we're starting the second half of this Grand Prix. Daniel has crashed out, as I was saying, Jesper corner. That is referring to Season 5 PSF2 Singapore Grand Prix, which I took part in, but it's not important at all. If you're wondering, I finished 7th. But that was probably one of the wildest races in the entire history of Ero. Just alongside Season 3's Italian Grand Prix in PSF1. But speaking about that Singapore Grand Prix, which basically has its own highlights on the YouTube channel, which you can check out after the live stream. We've got like 13 people crossing the line, but it's not just that. It's basically action at every single moment. There's this guy spinning out, there's this guy making a bold move, or yet another crash. It might not have been the best race in terms of driving standard, but all in all it was wild. That is what mattered. And what I meant about Jesper corner, this refers to Jesper Mag banning it, as Joey was gone wild back then. On the final lap of the race, he would still finish second because Michael Engelian caught up enough to get that race win after Jesper's 3-second time penalty, as Michael has got non-penalties. So Jesper would still finish second, but he was leading the race by around 3 seconds. 2.7, 2.5 it was back then. But where Drake is right now, this is where it happened. Which is where the Williams driver spun into the wall and damaged his front wing. Then rejoined on the 5th. I believe he still got into the podium though. The 4th place. That's Thomas Gard. I don't know what he's been cooking, but try to get 3rd place of Justin. Bernd Mainlander is awaiting Drake Dempsey and the rest of the pack. Yes, I've seen it somewhere that Bernd Mainlander is the least reliable driver in the entire Formula 1 history, because he was leading the race so many times and never won. Which is sort of true. But it could have been down to his car if we kept on joking. Because the team, which is FIA basically, called him to the pits every time. You can see Drake is basically trying to overtake the safety car, trying to speed up a little bit. As a fun fact, this is already more safety cars than we've had in PCF2 tier, because yesterday we've got 1. And apparently, everyone apart from the Aston Martin PCF2 drivers, who are Dino and Marco, everyone from PCF2 or PCF3 has already retired. Daniel, PCF3, out. Furkan, PCF2, out. Eric, PCF2 mainly, out. Harways, who was racing in PCF2 as well, out. As we are here in the safety car, and I've got not a single bit of a story to talk about at this very moment, I've got a very simple question: if you can like this stream and subscribe to the channel. Simple as that. Just this. As Marvin Moore and George Parr are joining the pack, looking at the tires they've got, Marvin is going bold. I don't think the soft tires will survive like 50 more laps. But I believe he's doing this just to make sure he has got no issues with the tire changes. Because you need to be on 2 tire compounds on dry conditions. 2 different tire compounds. And it cannot be like 2 soft compounds. It must be like soft medium, or soft hard, or hard medium, which is the most OP thing in this game. Still, F1 2021 was better in terms of the strategy because it was starting on getting the alternate strategy if you were outside top 10, or getting into soft if you were into top 10, and trying the wildest, the most ridiculous strategy of all. Hards were basically used only if you were in Singapore, or not even Singapore at the end of the game, but if you were on lap 1 and there was a safety car. And that's basically all the scenarios. Or when you tried to just make sure that you're on all compound tires. There were races where someone has gone medium hard because of the safety car, and then on the same lap, on the next lap after the pit for hard, the driver's gone for medium tires again, and then he finished the race. Marko Dordevich and Marvin Moore having a little bit of a mess. 13 drivers are already just about racing. Drake is still getting the championship, so Arjan Bilbas may settle for the 2nd at best. But of course, don't call it just yet, because Drake needs to win this Grand Prix. I believe when George Parr joins us, then we should be racing. But I don't believe Marvin and George are going to survive in these soft tires. No way, basically. You can see Drake is trying to burn a little bit of fuel as much as possible, considering that these cars probably have like plus 3 laps of fuel. I can see Drake is on plus 0.42. So I don't think... I think he was on minus fuel before the start of this race. A safety car is in this lap already. Very early though, because we've got like 1, 2, 3 more chicanes before he will go to the pits. I wonder what will happen if he crashes out. I wonder. As if he did this now, he would be flagging the race and probably calling it off with half points. Which would basically not give the championship to Drake just yet. But I think the safety car driver is going to the pits as usual. We should be going regardless. One of the most chaotic races of the season already. Drake but probably not the best one, as still Azerbaijan Grand Prix was one of a kind as we're restarting this race. Drake peacefully leads. Then we've got both Alpine drivers and basically nobody going for a move apart from Notiski just having a half look on the inside of Pavlakovic. Robertson picking up proper 3-second time penalty for exiting the track limits multiple times. And Marko Djordjevic has been overtaken by Marvin Moore, who's going to now make a charge on these soft tires and probably awaiting one more safety car, because there's no other way and no other reason to go on the soft tires. George Parr also on the softs, also about to make a move on Marko Djordjevic. Bold one down the inside, and he's completed it without forcing Marko to make evasive action. Marvin goes for a move on Dino Pushkadia now. A little bit of evasive action, but I don't think it's a penalty. Now, these two could have been caught fighting will to will, but not just yet. George Parr has overtaken Dino as well, as we'll be following the Haas and the Williams on the charge for better places. And I believe Marvin is just about going to get a move on Fritz Robertson. Then maybe his teammate Maciej Lutiński. But not just yet. Fraser is closer to getting to Lutiński than Marvin is getting to Fraser. Now with a good exit of the corner, Marvin, don't go for a move here. He's going for it down the inside. And he's basically sent it without breaking on any of the regulations. If, of course, Fraser has got no front wing damage or that. But that was a very bold move from Marvin, and he's made it work. That was on edge, though. That was very, very on edge. And any millimeter of a mistake and would have gone as a disaster, rather than a great move. Now George Parr should be going for a move on Fraser as well. He's doing all of his ERS. He's looking for space down the inside. He's going for it, just giving a half foot, but triggered Fraser Robertson to go out of the track. And at the end of the day, lose place to George Parr as well. So that was not a proper move, but into turn one, his mate Fraser his pressured Fraser to make a mistake and lose a place as well. George Parr on the 10th. Then Marvin Moore is now chasing down his teammate Maciej Lutiński. I wonder what the second head driver will do. The one who's on front right now. As Cash is already losing 2 seconds to Drake Dempsey. But I think Marvin is about to make a move on Maciej. Maybe not in this section of corners. If he makes a move into turn 10, I don't think what he's doing. I think he doesn't know what he's doing. But not going for that one just yet. Not a great exit, so I wouldn't go for it now. He's going though, and Maciej Lutiński needed to watch out, but kept it clean though. Marvin is going for some very, very bold moves here, but I think Maciej Lutiński considered Marvin being a teammate and decided to not fight that hard, as George Parr makes a move on him as well. But just to remind you, George and Marvin both have to go to the pits later in the race, maybe in a couple of laps, because these tires will not make it. Probably they're like 15% already within 3 laps. The ice is enabled, that means we are on the 3rd lap of racing after the 2nd safety car. Now Quill Pawlakovic will be chased down by Marvin, but we're following Luke Mills now as Marvin gets a 3-second tire penalty for exceeding track limits multiple times. Using the soft tire advantage, Marvin is already a second behind Quill Pawlakovic, who was 1.5 seconds behind starting this lap, so he's getting some great pace so far, although he's lost a little bit here, but he's going to gain in the next section of corners. The 390 degrees corners have been passed now by Luke Mills and also by Marvin, who's regained 2 tenths on Quill now. So I think we may be expecting a move on the next lap, as Luke Mills having a little bit better of an entry than Lucas Leafroyd into turns 10-11, but a little bit worse exits. Bushkadia is spun around in turn 11, which puts him back to the last place. Drake already 4 seconds ahead of Quentin Cash. I wonder how are the medium tires now. And how much of a tire wear they've got, because Thomas Gertz is currently the only one on the hard tires, and this might pay off, as Lucas Leafroyd is losing 9 tenths to him, so he might be out of the DRS sooner than later. Marvin is within DRS of Quill, I believe. But I don't think he's got it just yet. He's around a second behind the Williams driver. But yeah, he's getting the DRS now. I thought he didn't get the DRS in the main straight though. So he might get a little bit closer, although he's losing, so he might have got the setup for the corners as well. Not the straights. Dino Bushkadia is spun around yet again in the exit of turn 3, approaching turn 5. Because this little thing on the left is counting as a corner, I believe. Marvin clips the wall by a very minor bit, so I believe he might have also got no damage. Also, this is a place where I got damaged, this Rolex thing on the left side yesterday in PCF2. But that's just a fun fact. Thomas Grad, less than 8 tenths approximately to Justin Chevalier, but Justin Chevalier is getting that help, which is called DRS of Quentin. Alpine drivers know this is a double podium upon them. After a disastrous start with Dorotsky and Niemczyk on the, as the full-time drivers, the Alpine has changed the entire lineup and now they are doing quite well. Justin Chevalier, though, unfortunately losing on a win in Azerbaijan Grand Prix on the final lap due to Arjan Bilbaas rear-ending him, still getting some of the podiums there. We just make sure in terms of the constructor standings, basically Alpine is ninth, but both Quentin and Justin have got points results in the last couple of races. This will be a massive bunch of points for them if they keep the second and third, which would basically place them currently in position number 7, I believe. Because Marvin has to go to the pits, George has to go to the pits, Lutinsky will finish 8th, considering no changes, if it just ends like so. 18 plus 15 is 27, so 44 plus 30 is 74, 71 points for Alpine. Then there's 10 points for Mercedes and 4 points for Haas for comparison. And that means Alpine is basically jumping into 7th place. Not 6th because Luke Mills is in the points, very strong ones. And not 5th because Kurt Pawlakowicz is putting some points for the Williams. The top 4 is probably clear, with Alfa Romeo on the way to win the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari being 2nd, McLaren 3rd, maybe AlphaTauri. Well, they're not. Neither McLaren, Ferrari, or AlphaTauri are getting points today. Out of the top 4 teams, only the Alfa Romeo are having the driver in points. It's called Jake Dempsey. Then there is massive gap, and then we've got Williams, Red Bull, Haas, Mercedes, Alpine, and Aston Martin. Aston Martin on the way to get this chunk of points as well, with Thomas Grad on 4th place at the moment. And potential 10th for Robertson. That will help just a little bit. I believe every single team may go for like over 50 points, but it's nothing compared to PCF3 last season, where basically nearly every single team was capable of fighting for the title in Constructors. I believe it was Alfa Romeo who won it. As just to clarify the facts, and this is why you see the pause menu. The team that finished last in PCF3 last year in Season 8 has got 102 points. Of course there was Alfa Romeo, Mercedes and AlphaTauri, top 3 teams, who have gone a little bit away from the rest, because Alfa Romeo has won the Constructors with 267, then with Mercedes 234 and AlphaTauri 212, because, well, I'm speaking about the history of the league a little bit. But basically it was so close in general. The gap between the first and the last was 165 points after full season. And PCF1 now has a gap of 215 between the first and last. As Marvin, this is where soft tires go to pieces, he spins round on the exit of turn 13. Not the greatest moment, as Lucas Leafroyd catching up to Thomas Grad, so these hard tires actually are not working. Thomas is already out of Justin's DRS. So, also this is yet another interesting fact. From 2nd to 6th, we've got all of the drivers in the ABS racing team. ABS team, the name, doesn't mean they use ABS though, as this year is restricted to allow only racing line, which is basically the green, yellow and red thing on the track. However, plenty of drivers are not using it, like Marv, like Maciej, Luke, Quill, Drake, and Marvin Moon is out of this race. He tried though, that was a great charge from the soft tires. That should have finished the race, not on the pits. So we've got only 12 drivers left. And Lucas Leafroyd about to make a move on Thomas Grad, which we wouldn't expect a couple of laps ago to happen at this stage. When the medium tires are running, as we come back to the Jesper Merckx last lap bin in PSF2, he was on the 30 laps of mediums. I know the F1 2020 had a little bit of different physics on the tires, because this is where you could actually make a soft medium. Not on all tracks, but you could. Michael Angelians with 13 laps out hard. So that is a little bit of a difference. The Drake is already 8 seconds ahead of Quentin and Justin. Last couple of laps before claiming the Ero Pc F1 championship for the first time in his career. Which I know some of you might not believe, because Season 6, title fight with Guillaume Darunia. Season 7, 6 wins in 7 first races of the season, but dropping out later on because of WR Tier 1. Which actually scored points in, so that was a good result. But overall, Season 8 also joined as a reserve though at the start, then got Mercedes in the final 3 races, and got to race couple of times since Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, as we forgot about that, but Luke Mills decided to show us how to make a move on Lucas Leafright to get to 5th place. Josh Parr, how many more laps are you going to make on these softs though? That is the question, as Lewski is going to get a puncture sooner than later. You cannot just make like 14 laps on the soft tires, and here's the proof. Josh Parr with damage front wing. Also retiring on track, so 4 penalty points, congratulations for Josh Parr. Which leaves us with 11 drivers left. Does it mean Tino Puszkadia may as well score points? It's not out of the question, considering he just needs 1 more driver to DNF in this race. And that could be Thomas Gard if he didn't save the car. He's not short shifting though, and that may make him lose a little bit of a time. Quentin Hesche made sure that Justin Chevalier is just about getting DRS assistance in order not to let Thomas Gard overtake him. Double podium for Alpine is still on the line, but Justin Chevalier has gone a little bit wide here in turn 2. You have to remember that this right-hander thing is a separate corner. You can also see some massive gaps going on. Of course, Drake and Quentin was predictable. Got this little bit of a sort of train from the 2nd to 7th, sorry. And then we've got Maciej Lutiński losing 13 seconds. And the pressure from Robertson and Djordjevic, but I believe Djordjevic is putting Robertson more under pressure than Robertson Lutiński. Well, Djordjevic was having a look, but not a proper one. Robertson, I believe, might have tripped the wall here and get himself a little bit of a wing damage. But we'll see about that if he loses pace. He's definitely out of the DRS of Maciej, and he's letting past Marko Djordjevic, so there might be something when it comes to front wing. He's losing loads of time. So even though we don't see it, he might be losing, he might have got like 5% of wing damage upon him. Grard currently 4th place and still trying to chase down Justin Chevalier. We're entering lap 28 of this race, and I don't see any DNFs going on at a short notice. Maybe apart from Robertson in the pits. But that would leave us with the drivers finish. That is basically yet another level. Singapore being Singapore. If there is someone retiring Pc F1, that is mainly due to going to the pits and deciding, yeah, I will not get any points in this race. But now, George Parr crashed out and then instantly retired. Daniel Bichali crashed out entirely. Imchas, same. Bilbas, same. Chibianchuk clipped the wall with the rear tire. Jack Harrington is crashed out as well. And Ferry Wagner, of course, lap 1 DNF. Robertson picked up yet another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, but I think he's staying out on track. If he has wing damage, it's despite having a front wing damage, in order to secure this final points paying position. He's still got 13 seconds of a gap ahead of Dino Pushkadia, so not worth it to just pull off to the pits and retire. As Thomas still yet to make a move. I believe Quentin might be slowing down a little bit just to make sure Justin gets the RS. We'll see about that. Yeah, that is correct. Quentin has now lost 2 tenths coincidentally in order to let Justin have a chance against Thomas Grard. And I think he's doing the same thing here. 9 tenths of a second? 8 tenths of a second? I think the Alpine drivers are trying to help each other out in order to secure that double podium, which would be the best Alpine result this season. Could have been a win in Baku, but we know what happened before the castle section. And will not ask. Drake is already approaching the third DRS zone, whilst Quentin Hirsch is just ahead of turn 10. You can see the pace difference though, of someone who was in the esports team last season, and this is why also Drake is in the Alfa Romeo. Thomas Graz is now only 2. Drake has got a 3-second time penalty. This is actually exciting news. Although it changes nothing. Because he's 2 laps and a couple of corners away from winning the championship. It still is quite a lot. It's interesting because something has happened for the race leader. And I believe Quentin Hirsch about to pull out his beautiful tactics, wonderful tactics. Losing a little bit on this section. Yes, he is indeed. He's now losing. He's now having 9 tenths ahead of Justin Chevalier. So Justin has DRS, and now he will not be overtaken by Thomas Grard. Although Thomas Grard is going for it. No, he's losing 2 tenths, which is too much to make a send down the inside. Although the medium tires are actually very, very worn at this point. I believe they're like 70% already. Which might trigger a puncture for someone. It's one driver. Lutitsky now fighting Djordjevic for position number 8 as well. But we'll watch on Thomas Grard trying to make a move on Justin. Not quite yet. As we are switching to Djordjevic fighting Lutitsky. Both on the very, very old medium tires. Dino Pushkadia goes into the pit lane. Probably trying to get the fast lap if there's a chance. Might get it. Marko Djordjevic about no chance, to be honest. Way too far. And Dino indeed is trying to make that fastest lap as he's picked up new soft tires. Switching on to Thomas Grard. Now Justin has got the DRS, which means no move from the Aston Martin driver for the final podium paying spot. Drake about to start the final lap of Season 9 championship fight whatsoever. We know that it's going to be a massive gap of over 160 points ahead of Tommy Ritchie. But he's just 5 kilometers away from winning the title, becoming the world champion of VRO for the first time. Justin Chevalier has now officially lost the podium spot with 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Sorry for the interruption. But that is disaster for the Alpine, who will be not only losing the 3rd place, but also 4th. As Luke Mills has got no penalties as well. That is disaster for Justin Chevalier. Could have been a great chance for a little bit of a redemption for Baku. He's sliding quite a lot now, which might suggest his tires are actually on the edge. Thomas Grard will get the podium spot, finally. But not in the circumstances he wanted to. He wanted to probably go for the last lap send. Lutynski also under pressure from Marko Djurdjevic, but will follow the battle for the podium on the track. As Thomas Grant will probably go for down inside on Justin. No, he decided to back out, thankfully for all of us, because that would end up in a proper disaster now. As Jake is approaching the sector 3. Is Thomas going for a move down the inside? No, so I think this might be it. Actually not. Yeah, this might be it. This might be it because Thomas, although he's in of the RS, I don't think he's going for a move. He's going for a move down the inside, so he surprised all of us. Contact maybe? No. And I think that's it. That's it in terms of Season 9. Not in terms of racing, because we've got Hungarian, Emilia-Romagna, Brazilian, French, Italian Grand Prix and Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. But Drake Dempsey, after 9 season final wins, the Ero Pc F1 Championship, something that he hasn't done in Season 6 or Season 7, has finally happened. And now Drake can call himself Ero Champion. Officially, Quentin Keshe finishes 2nd, Justin Chevalier 3rd. All of the medium runners have survived. Lucas Leifrid after his spin has dropped to 7th. Lutynski also fights Djurdjevic for position number 8. But I think the Polish driver will stay in P8 and the Serb at P9. This is probably first points for Serbia this season, as Fraser Robertson scored his final Spain position. The only one on track is Duno Pushkadia. How far is he from getting the fastest lap? Let's see. Because the fast lap is 39.1, he's done 41.4. He may be in the 39s, but I don't think he's going for it, but we'll see. We'll wait until the end of this race. He's still using every last bit of ERS in order to secure the final points pay position, and he's done it at the end of the day. Dino Pushkadia with the fastest lap, so everyone who finished the race got points. But doesn't really matter when Drake won the championship. Maciej Lutynski actually took the evasive action on Drake Dempsey, considering I forgot completely what I meant to say. But at the end of the day, it's another win for Drake Dempsey, not as challenging as, for example, Baku. But a couple of great performances collected to getting that PSF1 championship. PCF1. Could have been PSF1 if he didn't retire with 3 races to go. But yeah. Although, quite an interesting race, to be honest. There was a little bit of a mess over potential desync, but I don't think it was any sort of a desync. Justin Chevalier naturally being a bit angry at this 3-second time penalty he's got. Not the end of the stream though, but because we've got a little bit of a press conference to go in. And we are not going to see the race results of what is happening with this game, seriously. This is probably one of the biggest plot twists we've seen recently. As... well, basically, we can just tell Drake is a champion. This is what matters, apparently. As... we are inviting the top 3 naturally to the press conference zone. But yeah. We didn't see the race results, so... probably the game thinks it never happened. Maybe there was actually a desync and we should have cancelled the race, but... yeah. So, we've got our race winner in this conference room. who is adding yet another win to his tally, but it does not matter the most, if I was brutally honest. Do you want to know why, Drake?
Sure.
You are basically Ero Pc F1 champion now. Just to clarify,
Nice.
just to make sure, 27, 27, 27, 27. Yeah. Even if Tony Richo wins all the races and gets all the pole positions and fastest laps, you'll be 5 points ahead of him.
Pretty nice, I'd say. Pretty nice.
So, after 4 long seasons, it's finally happening. You're now the Ero Pc F1 champion, and you can tell us about the perspective about this race and this season so far.
This race, it wasn't bad at all. I was pretty smooth running. I woke up a little bit late because, well, I got sunburnt. Nice idea to not have any sunscreen while sitting out in the sun for 5 hours yesterday, but it was fun, so that's all that matters, I'd say. But it didn't really affect my pace, so didn't really focus on it. But I got the penalty, which was the only bad part of the race. I was just didn't cross my mind that I got 2 warnings before. I was just pushing, so to see the test limits and everything. But it was a nice race. Singapore's a nice track, and it was a bit of a chaotic race. I could tell from behind 2 safety cars, but I had any tire I could ever need in my stockpile, so I had it under control. And the season has gone well, finishing on the podium every round, but 1, Austria. Finishing in top 5 every race at least. But yeah, I mean it's been a nice season, and I can't really say I could do anything really different. Since, well, I don't really have to.
Well, the only thing you can do now is beat as many records as possible with... If you won all of the races without fastest laps and pole position, of course, you would get 410 points, and the most, I believe, has happened in Season 7, it was around 350, so there's a massive chance of getting these. Just basically need to win 6 races, which would also make you equal with Maxime Rodriguez, winning 9 races in a row in PSF1 in Season 4. So yeah, there's records to be broken, and it all depends on you if you're getting it.
I mean, I can make a valiant attempt. That's for sure. I can't really predict any bad luck or like Austria in Season 7 or what is that? Type of situations where I just make a slightly wrong strategy call and it narrowly passes me by. But all I can do is just do what I've been doing and see what happens.
Yep. Thank you for attending the conference and the race as well. Now we're going to both Alpine drivers who have joined the conference, Justin Chevalier and Quentin Hesh, who... Now I have a question to Quentin at first. Was this a little bit of a slowing down on the final chicane to get Justin DRS?
Not really, because we had a really different setup. So he was faster than me in the last sector, and he kept the DRS every time. So it was not my intention.
So it wasn't a little. It wasn't even planned. That is very interesting details about this race. I never expected that. I know you've been like 1.1 seconds of Justin, and then it went like suddenly 0.9 seconds, and I thought this was a part of a plan to keep the double podium for the Alpine. But that was a very interesting insight. We also can ask Justin about this race, who finished 5th unfortunately, but on track at least it was 3rd. So. What happened with these 3 seconds?
To be honest, like Quentin say, I have very different setup. I have a low downforce, maybe 5 or 6 click difference. So I have a lot of degradation on the tire, and at the end of the race, I was like more than 70% on the medium. So. Yeah, I just lost the rear, and yeah, I just cut the corner, so yeah, 3 seconds, I deserve it. But yeah, that's not a problem, because yeah, it was a good race from my side. I just follow Quentin, and when he said that's just the difference of setup. When I looked at the delta, I saw 1.1, 1.0, and 0.9 every time. So I was really happy to have the less downforce setup. Yeah.
So that is the insight we've got about this race. Well, anyways, regardless, thank you for partaking in this one. And next week we are moving to not Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, but the Hungarian Grand Prix, as this is the change affected by the F1 esports changes and basically general voting, because basically we've got like 90% of drivers agreeing with the calendar change that will happen. It basically changes the order just a little bit, with Emilia-Romagna swapping with Hungary and Brazil with Italy. But yeah, next week, Hungarian Grand Prix. We'll see you there. Just make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and goodbye.